I'm at work, actually going on my lunch break, and I get on the elevator, get all the way downstairs to the first floor. I'm walking to the corridor to get to the garage to get to my car, and all of a sudden I just felt something weird with my leg, my right leg to be specific. And as I was walking, I'm taking my steps, and my right leg would just kind of just give out, and it would do that every few steps. So by the time I actually got to the garage, like, I would take maybe 3 steps and my right leg would give out, and I had no idea what was going on. I just felt something like weird. The only way I knew how to explain it, it just felt like ants were crawling in my hip. And I know that sounds crazy, but to this day, that's literally what it would feel like. It's like ants or something weird was just crawling, like in my hip region on the right side, and just uncontrollably my leg would just give out. So that by the time I made it to my car, I just had to sit for a minute. So I pulled off the garage, and I literally didn't make it a half a mile down the street. So I pull over into this parking lot, and I called my mom. Like, I remember this like it was yesterday, and it's like 11 years ago. So I pull in this parking lot, and I call my mom, and I tell her what's going on, and I'm like, something weird is going on. Like, I don't know what it is, and I've never really felt it before. It's just kind of funky. I'm like, I'm gonna go back to work. I don't know, me being me, I'm like, I'm gonna go back to work, and then maybe after work I'll if it's still something going on, maybe I'll go to urgent care. So I get back to work, and I don't know how to this day, but I literally make it back through the long corridor, and by this time it's like I'm down to every step I take, my leg is giving in. So I go back to my desk, and I just knew something wasn't right. So I called my boss out. Literally, I didn't even go in her office. I called her. My desk is here. Her office is there. So I called her on the phone, and I'm like, I need you to come out here for a minute. And I tell her, I'm like, and I didn't want to go in detail. And for whatever reason, I just had that feeling like, don't tell her exactly what's going on. I'm like, because I'm never the person who leaves work sick. I'm like, I think I need to go to urgent care. I don't feel right. Something's wrong. So as soon as I said that, of course, her knowing me, she's like, go, because that trust was there. She's like, go. So I waited until she went to a meeting, because I didn't want her to see me walking like that. So as soon as she went to her meeting, which wasn't long later, probably like 30-45 minutes later, I immediately got up and left. And same thing, it was just very hard, to the point by the time I get back down the elevator to the first floor, I'm like walking, holding myself up on the wall. It was that bad, to literally, like, people are like, you okay, you need help? And one of the guys there ended up like helping me to my car. And I'm just like, I don't know, I lied, really. I'm like, I don't know, I think I hit my leg or something. I just played it off like that. So I could drive home. It wasn't affecting my driving. So I drove home. For those who are in Michigan, I drove from Southfield to Canton. So I got there, and it was fine. Well, that night, or that week actually, the church that I was going to, we were having some type of conference or something. So by this point, I'm still thinking, I don't know, like, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm like, something weird is just going on with my leg. It wasn't painful, but it was just uncontrollable. So I'm like, well, and I was staying with my mom at this time. So I was like, well, I'm gonna just go to church. I'm like, I'll just go to the ER after we get back home from church. So my godmother was at the house, and her brother was in from out of town. So this is like some hours later. So by the time it's time to leave and go head to church, we had to walk up a flight of steps. I couldn't even get down the flight of steps. So he had to help me down the steps. So by the time we get to church, he's helping me go into church, and by the time church is over, and I think they pray for me or something, I'm sorry, one lady prayed for me, and by the time church was over, I couldn't move my leg, like, at all. So I'm sitting there, and I don't want to make a scene, because that's just me. I didn't know what was going on. Really, I had no idea. Wasn't prepared for what was coming, but I didn't know what was going on. So I kind of whispered, I'm like, I can't move my leg. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, I can't move my leg. And I told my mom, she's like, okay. So he had to carry me to the car because I literally could not move my right leg at all. I didn't know what was going on. It just felt really heavy. It was tingly. It was numb. It was just weird. Something I had never in my life experienced before. So we get back home and my mom takes me to the ER. So they're asking me all of these questions. You know how you go to the triage and they're like, okay, you know, are you pregnant? I'm like, no. They're asking like, you know, the regular questions they ask you. Have you been sick? Have you been out of the country? And of course, all my answers were no. And they're like, what about your vision? You know, is your vision okay? I'm like, I don't have any problems with my vision. I'm like, this is literally just my leg. I can't freaking move my leg. So they get me back and they're doing all their testing and all of these tests, and they come back and they're like, oh, have you ever had a lumbar puncture or a spinal tap? And I'm like, no. And my mom's like, yes. So I guess apparently I had one when I was a kid. I don't know what for, but I had one. So they're like, well, we need to do a lumbar puncture. And I'm thinking, okay, so you need to stick a needle in my back. I'm not scared of needles, but as long as I'm looking at them. So if you're putting a needle in my arm, I'm the person that's looking there like turn away. I'm like, no, I need to look. So I was pretty uncomfortable with that because somebody is behind me sticking a needle in my back. So they come in the room and they do the spinal tap, and of course you have to wait. And I can't tell you the amount of time that went by, but maybe an hour or two or however long it was. So the doctor comes back in, you know, she knocks, she comes in, she closes the door, and she gets on the little scooter chair and she scoots in real close to me and my mom. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, say it, spit it out. So she's like, well, we have your test results back, and from your spinal fluid. Long story short, what the lady said was, you have MS. Now, pardon my ignorance. I don't know if it was, I really didn't know at that time what it was, or if it was just, you know, shock. I don't really know, but I know that's what she said. And then she said multiple sclerosis, and I'm like, what does that mean? I can honestly say I had no clue. Not that I had never heard of MS, not that I hadn't heard the words multiple sclerosis, but I honestly did not know what that meant, right? We hear all these things. We hear cancer, we hear AIDS, we hear, you know, asthma, we hear all these things that are more common. To me, at least, MS was not necessarily as common of a disease. At that time, I did not know it was a disease that there was no cure for, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I know this is serious, but I'm like, okay, so what medicine do I take? Like, how do we get rid of this? That's what I'm thinking. And then that's when I got the explanation that there is no cure for MS, and this is something that, according to us, you will deal with for the rest of your life. We can't guarantee you that you'll ever be able to move your leg again. So I'm being hit with all of these things. So my reaction was this. I was just shaking my head. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because to me it had to be God. Because most people, I feel like, get diagnoses like that and they literally, they flip out. They are screaming, hollering, crying, and I didn't have that emotion. I can't tell you why to this day. I don't know why I didn't have that emotion. All I can say is I was just very calm and just like, okay, so what do we do? When she said, you're not going to walk again, or you may not walk again, I didn't accept that. I didn't want to be disrespectful to her because I appreciate, the amount of education that she has and knowledge, but I just knew that wasn't for me. I'm thinking my walking days do not end here in this hospital room. It's just not. Like, I don't know what y'all got to do or what I got to do, but Sequoia is going to walk again. I'm going to walk out this hospital, matter of fact. That's all I knew. So April 2008, that was a significant month for me, just in my life, right? That was a milestone time for me. April 2008 was my graduation date from college. So literally, when I got admitted in the hospital, this is like a couple weeks before my college graduation. So I'm like, yeah, y'all gonna have to speed this up. Like, I've worked dang hard for this. I'm like, I'm the first grandchild, great, all that to graduate from college. Like, I'm going to my college graduation. Well, a week has gone by, 2 weeks have gone by, and I'm still admitted in this hospital. Like, I still can't walk on my own. I still really can't move my leg. I'm still numb. I'm still tingly. Like, literally, I couldn't do this with my leg. So this all is still going, and it's very well. And all I could think was, there's no way I'm gonna miss my college graduation. Like, there's no way that this is gonna happen. So, the ending of that was, on my college graduation day, I was still admitted in the hospital, but I made such a fuss to everybody in the hospital that they gave me a day pass. They gave me a day pass from the hospital to go to my graduation. So literally, the vibrant girl who everybody on campus knew, you know, and not from being in a wheelchair, not from being sickly, from being at the parties, I hate to say it, sorry mom, but yeah, being at all the parties from Thursday to Sunday and just having fun, walking around campus, going to classes. I went to my college graduation on a day pass from the hospital, literally with, like, I had a curfew, y'all, from the hospital. Like, the hospital gave me a curfew. Like, ma'am, you in this wheelchair gonna have to be back in this hospital by a certain time. So literally, I am in a wheelchair at my college graduation with my IV still in my arm. My dear friend Rebecca, okay, I want to cry. My dear friend Rebecca, I love you to pieces, drove from the east side of Detroit to Ann Arbor to the hospital, literally to do, like, help me look like a piece of something, as much as I could, you know, with my IV and my thing in the wheelchair. So of course I get to graduation and people are like, you know, you see those looks like, what the heck is going on? Like, why is Sequoia in a wheelchair? And I couldn't say anything. Like, I guess I could have, but at that point I didn't want to say anything. How do you say, yeah, you just saw me last week and I was fine, but okay, now this is this week and yeah, I got MS. I don't know. For me, that wasn't an easy conversation to have. And honestly, I have faith. I believe in God, and I will never apologize for that to anybody, and my faith is very strong. So I just felt like I understand what the diagnosis is, but I understand who I am, and I understand who my Father is. I understand my God, and I'm like, I'm going to beat this. Like, this is not going to be the end of me. I understand the reports. I understand what statistics say. I understand all of that, but that's just not going to, this MS is not going to be the end of me. That's all I knew. That's all I knew at that point. I'm going to be able to walk. Yes, I'm at my college graduation, and of course there's a form of embarrassment there because you can't even, something you've worked so hard for, something that in my case, I won't say by who, but I was told by some people that college wasn't for me. Like, I just needed to do hair and nails. And that's no disrespect to those. I have friends who do hair and nails and they're very successful, but for me, I was told that, girl, please, that ain't for you. So something I worked so hard for, and now I'm at the end of it, and I can't even walk across the stage. Like, are you kidding? Like, I've been walking across this campus all these years. I want to walk across this stage. But no, my mom ended up pushing me across the stage in a wheelchair. So, and one of my college friends was just there with me at the graduation just the whole time, just kind of making sure, you know, and of course you people were very respectful. I'll say that these are people who had been in my life for the past 4 or 5 years, and that was a shocker. You know, they never seen me sick with a cold or something. Like, yeah, but not like that. So I get through the graduation. They let me stay out long enough to go to dinner with my friends and family, and I had to go right back to the hospital bed. I ended up being in that hospital over a month, and by the time, and it was so much that went on in that hospital, so much.